Everyone take a moment and read the top. And just give me a thumbs up when you've read the top. Just give me a thumbs up on this test here, the Praxis 7813 for elementary education. Give me a thumbs up when you read this. Who is in this spot right now? Who in the class is seeking is going to be a teacher, new to teaching? Who's new? Type in new. Who's new? Very new. Okay, and who has been teaching? And so you're not old. You're just not you are a teacher. Let's just write that down. You are a teacher, current teacher, but you have to get this to renew your license of some sort. Anyone a current teacher? Can you just type in your grades, please? What's your grade? How long have you been teaching? You know, I've been teaching for 30 years. I've been teaching for 5 years. I'm switching licenses. Give me a little background here. Some teachers are new. I totally get it. Makes sense. Some teachers are current teachers, and you know, maybe you've been under an emergency waiver the last 2 years, you know, or 3 years because of the pandemic. So I think if you've been teaching the last 3 years and you're under some type of emergency waiver, I'm still going to put you down as new. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay. So for whatever, a lot of different teachers are taking this exam for similar reasons. Some of you are new, some of you are in emergency waivers, some of you are current teachers that just need to get this at some point. Okay, we're going to be focusing on the math portion of this exam, the 7813. Yes, everyone is signed up for this math and focusing on this math one because that's all we're going to do today. The next 2 days is math. And that's that's the game that we're playing. Yes? Okay, good. When we think about this math test, we break it down. They've broken it down into these different sections here. What is the passing score? In order for you to pass this test right here, you need to get that 150. Yes? So you need to get that 150 to pass this. They do a breakdown of each of the different categories. Who's received these breakdowns before? Who's seen their scores before? So one of the things we're going to talk about in this intro is identifying things that need to be fixed and things that need to be worked. In looking at these ones right here, these first 3 are number sense. So basically, 80% of your tests, if we add this up, is all involving number sense. Is that right? That's 80% of your test. So it's of my opinion that if 80% of your test is number sense, these are the ideas that you need to spend most of your time on fixing. Give me a yes. This is the stuff where you need to put your energy in. Putting your energy into this one last section here is only going to help you with 20% of the test. You can spend some time on that, but it's more important this is the stuff that you need to fix. So problems involving whole numbers or place value or decimals or fractions or ratios. This is the core math that we need to target. Teachers that have taken this before, you've received something like this. Is that right? So I guess that's a perfect score. The passing score is around 150 right there. And then this is indicating that that teacher missed it. Is that right? And then we have those, remember, we still have these areas, counting and operations with whole numbers, place value and decimals, fractions, operations with fractions, ratios. We have these sections here. We want to look to see, let me circle this right here. Anything that is in this range here, let's see if I could circle that here. Yeah, hold on to those numbers for just a moment. Anything that's here is high. And we're going to call this work it. So if you're closer to the 11, the 9, the 7, and if you're higher up on this is work it. And anything that is below, let me just clarify, this stuff right here, This is going to be fix it. So let's just look at this teacher's scores here. Where would you say this 9 is? Where's this 9? Is it closer to the 8 or is it closer to the 11? This needs to be a fix it. Who sees that? Right? They're at that lower end of this, but they need anything close to that 8. 8, 9, 7, 6 needs to be fixed. Okay? It means this section here is holding them back from passing. How about this one right here? This is definitely a fix it, right? This is definitely a fix it too, right? That 6. This is another area, major fix, right? Yes? Or this 2. Whoa, look at that. 2 out of 13, major fix. Which means this isn't something that you can run away from. This is telling you right off the bat, this is what's holding them back. This section of the test, 80% of the test, this is what's holding them back. Now, clearly, this one needs a little bit more work, okay? Okay, now we go to this one right here. We go to early equations, and this also is a fix. Yikes. They got a lot of fixing to do. Yeah, well, we're gonna work through that. We're gonna work through that, Alicia. Okay. If you are anywhere close, your targets are to get up here and higher. Now, who's gotten close to the 11? Here, let's look at another one real quick. Let's look at this one right here, and let's just think about the work it section for a moment. This teacher right here, obviously they scored really high, right? Which of the sections that are closer to work it? The 10 is a little closer, right? The 10 is a work it. And then these others are sort of fix it. So this teacher is close. Maybe they need to fix some of these things here. Here's what I would suggest, okay? If you need to shoot for the 12s in these sections. You need to go as high up as possible. So if you have something that you're doing good in, you have to do amazing in. Thumbs up. If you have a strength here, you have to double down on that strength and you want to work it. And if you clearly see that there's something that needs to be fixed, then you need to spend a little bit more time in it. Let's try something else here, okay? I want you to count up what's the sum of how many they got right here. What's 10 plus 8 plus 4 plus 5? 27. Now, there's a total of 52 questions. Is that right? We'll get to the 47 and the 5. But some of the questions, 5 of the questions have 2 points. So we're going to write down here 57. Because some of the questions are worth double the points. So here's what I want you to do on your calculator that you have with you, or your phone. Open up your phone app and go to the calculator app. Go to your calculator app. And I want you to do 27 divided by, or the sum of these scores divided by 57. Can you do that? Do that. 27 divided by 57. And what do you get? You get this number here. Yes? We're going to turn that into just 47. And we're going to add 100 to it. And we're going to get that teacher's score. Does everyone see how we got that? Now this works for most scores, okay? So this teacher here getting that 27, right? They're almost there. You have to get a little bit more than, maybe just a little bit more. I think if they had gotten 2 more questions right, 1 or 2 more questions right, they're going to be done. Who hears me? In fact, I bet if we calculated 28 might have just done it. 28 divided by 57. Okay, so 2 more. They need 2 more questions away. Okay, so for the teachers that have received these scores back, do you kind of get a gauge of how you can measure this score? Okay. So hopefully that helps a little bit. You have to get that particular teacher would have to get 2 more right. They're going to have to shoot for around 29 correct. That's the target. 29 correct. Keep that number in mind because that's the number that when you divide by 57, that's going to get you something above that 50% mark. Okay. All right. This is only helping like 5 teachers in the room. But be aware of the things that you can work. Try and get up as high as possible to these ranges right here, as high as possible here. We want to be able to work it on our strengths. And if there's something that we have major gaps in, anything, we want to fix it. All right, let's keep going with this. Team, there's another test out that came out about 1.5 years ago called the Praxis 5008. There are some teachers. Is there anyone in this room that's taking this one, the 5008? Essentially, these exams, okay, Jessica, these exams are the same. All right. I mean, the math portions of these exams are the same, and that's all we're going to be doing today. So in terms of the breakdown of the questions and content, the math types of questions and the types of questions are going to be the same or very, very similar. Let me focus on how similar they are. Both of these exams cover these 4 objectives. Give me a thumbs up. Counting and operations with whole numbers, place value and decimals, fractions, operations with fractions, ratio problems, early equations, basic stuff with measurement and geometry. You're going to have access to a calculator, so they have the same core objectives. You're going to have the access to the calculator, and they're the same types of problems. They're going to be focusing on what? They're not just math problems. They're what? What type of problems are they? They're mainly involving what? Pedagogy, instruction. What is the best instructional strategy? What is the common error that a student made? Identifying a common mistake or error in the student's work. So they're focused on not just math, but your awareness of math instruction and being aware to identify common errors and misconceptions in each one of these categories. Big thumbs up. So they're going to have the same types of questions. There's a little bit of a difference. The one that we're focusing on today, you have 85 minutes to do. It's broken into questions where there's a total of 52 multiple choice questions. Most of them, 47 of them, are 1-point questions. 5 of them are 2-point questions. Yes? Give me a thumbs up. And you're averaging about 90 seconds per question, which is very, very fast. Who has difficulty with pacing here? Whose issues with the pace? So one of the things we want to do is build up our math fluency, our speed. So when we talk about the pre-workshop homework, that's all about you getting better at math, just better at math. Because if you're better at math, it's going to help you answering questions involving math instruction. If you understand the math portion better, it will help you understand the instruction piece a little bit better. If you don't understand the math, then the instruction could be anything, right? Who here kind of hears me there? Everyone is going through a different program. Some teachers in this class have been teaching for a long time. Some teachers are not in the classroom right now. So there's no way I'm going to be able to go through everything with instruction. And there's not one set way of doing things. What we're going to focus on is strategies for math and for doing these questions that are going to help you. Hopefully, this review is going to help you with pace. And part of building up the pace on this test is to build up your math. And we'll talk about how to do that. But this is an issue for a lot of teachers. This is what's holding them back. Okay? Now, let's go to this other test real quick. This other test is broken up, Jessica, differently. But there are 51 math questions, which is very similar, right? Yes, is that pretty much, it's very similar. It's very similar. And you're averaging almost the same. A minute a minute 0.4. I don't know how much that is. Very, very similar. It's almost the same amount of time. So I think we're talking about, you have 84 seconds, whatever that is. Okay, so it's very similar. It's about the same amount of math questions. It's about the same amount of time, a minute and a half per test. Here's what's similar on both of them. Both of them focus on instruction and common errors. Team, read this over, please. I know you've seen it before, but read it over real quick. Tell me when you've read it over. No writing on this test, Fernanda. Richard, the time issue, the time factor, there's a couple things for time. Let's talk about time in a few slides, if that's okay. We'll talk about the issue with time. Thumbs up when you've read this question on Josh's third grade class, and Josh is in a third grade class with Miss Carter. Notice it's not about solving this problem. It's about looking at how Josh, a third grader, solved it incorrectly. Is that right? So we're trying to look at a work that we need to be able to solve ourselves, and then we're trying to identify the common error. Now, who's worked with students involving adding up to 1,000, 10,000, whatever it is, right? What is a common error that happens a lot? This is a common error involving what? Addition and what? And addition and regrouping, right? Who's seen this error before with addition and regrouping? And if you're working with students, you're looking for this. You're anticipating this mistake because you've seen it hundreds of times before, right? What are they doing here? It looks like they did that correctly. Okay, that's good. But then when they added this together, the 8 and the 6, they did 14. They forgot to carry the 1. Same thing with this one right here. They add the 3 and the 7. They don't carry the 1. They just put down 10. You've seen this many times before, yes? So one aspect of this is for you to identify these common errors. And if you have this common error in your head, when you have on the day of the test a question like this, you'll know what to look for. Team, based on this common error, what should you type in? It should be what? 8 plus 4 is what? 12. And then we have our 8 and our 8. Okay, now there's a second piece to this. So part of this test is identifying common errors, and the other part is you typing this stuff in. Now, why is that different than most multiple choice exams? How's that different? How's that different? Most multiple choice exams have what? They have A, B, C, D. They have options. And the options are such that the options actually guide you. Like, for example, we could have things like this. And depending on your work, whatever you calculate out, you can look at these right here, and sometimes the options help you eliminate choices that you could cross some of these out to spot the right answer. So by you typing something in, you have to be very, very careful what you type in, because there's no clues to guide you on if it's correct or not. Does that make sense? So you could type anything in there. There's nothing you can gauge what they're trying to do or trying to say. And that makes this a little harder too. So two things that are different from a traditional test is that one, they focus on that instruction piece and those common errors in the math. And two, you're going to have to do some manual typing and calculations, and there's going to be no clues there to guide you. Both these exams, the 7813 and the 5008 math, both these exams have that. Here's another thing they both have. They're both going to include questions with multiple answers. Now, team, I want you to read this question I'm going to be quiet for a minute. Please tell me when you've read this question. I'll be quiet. And this is such a small group, Kara, Beverly, you need to tell me when you finished reading. Everyone, you got 1 minute on your own, go. Now remember, this is a question which you only have, let's just say 90 seconds to read. Right now, we're about at a minute. Who is still reading? Maybe? Who definitely feels like the pace is an issue? You're already like, the pace, Chris. I barely had time to read it. Okay, so we're doing a skills-based class, and part of the skill is reading these questions. And you can go back and you can practice your reading and you can get better at this. Trust me. Doesn't matter. You can go back to this one, read it again, read it faster, read it again, read it even faster. And even though you're going to have different questions on the test, there's some things that you're picking up on, speeding up on. Trust me. Now, in this one right here, okay, they're using this, the teacher is using data in the charts. Yes? So that's really the most important thing. Teachers using data in the charts, and we look at the charts. What is the charts about? Precipitation in Alaska, precipitation in California. Is that right? Fine. I think we should be able to get that within the first 10 seconds of looking at this. Now we go to the actual question. The question is the most important piece. The teacher wants to determine if the students notice something. What are they noticing? That the scales are different. Yes? Okay. And you're able to select, this says pick 2, which is nice that they tell you 2. But sometimes they don't tell you 2. They say select all that apply. But let's just look here. Why is this one not a good question for scales? Why is that not a good question? If your goal is to focus on the scales and how they're different, why is this not good? Because the student doesn't really need to look at the scale. They can just see, hey, those are the lowest, and looks like there's some here that something. They don't need to look at the scale, right? Okay, so it's not going to be that. Or how about this one right here? Which location has the least precipitation during the summer? Again, they don't really need to look at this. They don't need to look at the scale, right? They just need to be able to spot. And you don't need it. Okay. So I think, and then the correct answer, there's more than one. So you got to be able to cross these out. This takes time. These ones right here take time. Who feels like between reading the question, crossing out these 3 right here, and identifying these 2 right here is going to take them more than 90 seconds? I do. So you want to look at a question like this. You want to practice a question like this. Even though this is under a science one, it has a chart and it has a lot of things with comprehension going on here. You want to practice whatever questions that we do in math questions in the class, and and practice going back, reading the chart, going back, reading what it is, and getting better at that, okay? So that in the core, you can get faster at crossing this stuff off and identifying the ones that are correct. So you're practicing pacing on this is really important. And then also realizing that these exams could have more than one answer too. That's another trick with this test. So I would say, how's this test different than the other exams that you've taken? It's focused on instruction and common errors. You're going to have to manually type things in, which means there's no clues on the answers. And there are possibly 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, or 3 potentially correct answers. So those are 3 things that make it different than other traditional exams. Also, these exams here, they have that ability to use the on-screen calculator. Who on the day of the exams uses this on-screen calculator? Who does not? Okay, so here's the thing. This is a calculator, but it's not an on-screen calculator. I am used to using this calculator because I use my hands. Who does it like this? Beep, 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 beep. But that's different than using an on-screen calculator where you use your mouse, right? So I think this is a useful tool, but the only way you're going to get good at using any tool is if you practice. So if you're going to do these exams, you should practice with an on-screen calculator. Who hears me? If you don't practice, then you're not going to be able to use the tool. Does anyone do any work? Does anyone have any trade? Anyone do anything with their hands? Do you garden? Do you farm? What farm do you do? Do you sew? What do you do with your hands a lot? What's a skill that you type it in? What do you do? I don't know what you do. Do you write papers for your PhD? What is your, you cook? Patricia cooks. What else do you do? What other Richard writes. Dishes. Okay. If Patricia doesn't use that pot, practice that stove, or practice certain things using the tools. Richard doesn't use a pencil. He does it all through, speech to text. And then he's given a pencil. It ain't going to work that well. Agreed? If Patricia is constantly just turning on the microwave, so whatever tool they're giving you, this tool, if you don't practice the way it's given to you on the screen, you will not be able to use it and won't be a real tool. So try your best to incorporate this into your studies. I think it will help, not for every question, but for a handful, it will make a difference. Now, a teacher asked about the writing piece. Who's in the state of, what state are you in right now? What state are you in? What's your state? So North Carolina. Jessica's in Massachusetts. Jessica's going to be moving to North Carolina soon. Is that right? Okay. This one right here, right? Okay, fine. This one right here, we're not doing this one anymore. No, is anyone taking the Pearson exam? That's like long gone, correct? If you're in North Carolina or you're in the surrounding state, you're not, yes? I don't even know what, I recently went to check out the exams just to make sure that I'm up to date with the stuff in North Carolina, and they are still pushing this exam, the multi-subject exam, the math and the multi-subject version. Thumbs up. Who knew that? Okay. All right. So wait a second. Who's telling you to take this exam still? The Pearson General Curriculum Multi-Subject. Who's telling you to take that still? Clarify that, Tanya. Give me some feedback here. No one? Is anyone telling you to take the general curriculum math multi-subject exam? Okay, I didn't think so. Because, you know, in 2019, the state worked very hard to get rid of this exam. Part of the reason, there's a bunch of factors, but it's a hard exam and it has an essay. And number sense is it's a much harder exam. So for a lot of reasons, we're not going to talk about this today because no one here is taking it, correct? Why would you want to take a much harder exam? So I'm not going to do this exam because, hey, you don't need to take it. No point in doing it. But this is the one which had the essay, which you don't have to do anymore. Now, I do want to point this out about time. This exam was given to North Carolina teachers. It was very hard. Did anyone take this exam way back when? Not that far, like 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And this test they gave teachers about 2.5 hours to do it. It was really hard. But here's the weird thing. Other states had this same exam, but they had 4 hours to do it. So team, why did North Carolina only give North Carolina teachers 2.5 hours to do it when other states had 4 hours? Can anyone explain that to me? That's kind of messed up, right? That went on for years. And we would do classes, and every time we were in a class, doing a class, right, we'd be like, hey, do you know that your state is giving you 50% less time to do the exact same test? And everyone was like, no, I didn't know that. But that just seems like a little detail, a really basic detail that should have been talked about. Because I bet if you gave 4 hours for this test, some teachers might have liked it a lot more. Who hears me? Because with that extra time, you're going to be able to go through those questions. You're going to be able to write that essay with the extra time. So anyways, that's long gone. We don't have to worry about it. Why did the new exams only give you why do they only give you 90 seconds? Because they know that is probably the biggest issue with teachers is pacing. That one thing. Yes. And so that's got to be beyond everything that we do today, covering content, working your pacing at home and getting better at pacing at home is probably the most important thing many teachers can do. I'm going to I don't have this picture up, but I want to pull up a picture real quick. So just give me a moment. Hold on. Has anyone ever run a marathon before? Well, tell me when you can see my screen. I just pulled up the fastest picture I found. So I'm just building up the fastest picture. Can you see my screen? No one starts fast or finishes. Everyone starts slow and builds. Give me a thumbs up. And everyone can get better. Everyone can get better. You start with a half mile, then you do a mile, then you do 5K. Everyone here can get better. No one here can say everyone here can get better. Everyone here can run faster. And if this test is a skills-based test, which it is, yes, you can get better at your skills. You can get faster at reading, at solving. You can do both those things, at spotting the mistake faster. So this is a teacher that has a question like this. They should be able to see from a mile away that this is involving an issue with addition, with regrouping. And they know that the test is involving common errors, right? And so from a mile away, they should be able to spot the error and get to the answer faster. Who agrees? Because they are trained their eyes to do this, which means a question like this, they could do in maybe 30 seconds. But we got to train. We got to practice. We got to build that skill. Okay.